Training hard is not the same as training productively, and the difference between those two things is precisely why some people transform their bodies while others repeat the same year of effort on a loop. If this is your first time here, subscribe and share this with someone who has been putting in real work at the gym without seeing the body change in proportion to the effort. This channel is built around explaining the gap between effort and outcome, because that gap always has a specific cause, and specific causes have specific solutions. There is a particular kind of exhaustion that belongs to people who are genuinely trying. Not the exhaustion of someone who skipped 3 sessions this week and ate poorly. The exhaustion of someone who has been consistent, who has been pushing hard, who has given the process real time and real effort, and who is standing in front of a mirror after months of this, looking at a body that seems largely unmoved by everything that has been invested in it. This experience is more common than the fitness industry is incentivized to acknowledge. Because acknowledging it would require admitting that effort, in the absence of specific understanding, does not reliably produce results. And that admission contradicts the foundational marketing premise of almost every gym, program, and supplement on the market, that showing up and working hard is sufficient. It is not sufficient. It is necessary. But it is not sufficient. The body does not reward effort. It rewards specific biological stimuli delivered under specific conditions that allow the adaptive response to complete. When those conditions are not present, when the effort is real but the framework is wrong, the body does not simply produce slower results. It produces a convincing performance of training without the underlying adaptation that results require. Understanding why this happens, specifically, mechanistically, with enough precision to actually fix it, is what this is about. The adaptation signal is not being sent. The first and most fundamental reason that hard training produces no results is that the training, despite feeling difficult, is not generating the specific biological signal that drives the adaptation being sought. Difficulty and adaptive stimulus are not the same thing. A workout can be genuinely hard, cardiovascularly demanding, physically tiring, leaving the person sore the next day, while producing a minimal hypertrophic or strength adaptation signal. And a workout can be physically moderate while generating a potent adaptive stimulus. The subjective experience of difficulty is a poor proxy for the presence of the specific mechanical and metabolic conditions that drive muscle growth and strength development. The adaptive signal for hypertrophy is generated when muscle fibers are recruited at or near their maximum capacity and subjected to mechanical tension under load. This requires working sets taken close enough to muscular failure that the highest threshold motor units, the fast twitch fibers most responsive to growth, are recruited and sufficiently challenged. Sets that end well short of failure never fully recruit these fibers. They are active. They are working. But the demand placed on them does not exceed what they can comfortably manage, and a system that can comfortably manage a demand has no biological incentive to invest in upgrading itself. The person who performs 4 sets of 15 reps, stopping when the reps become difficult rather than when another representative would genuinely fail, is not training to failure. They are training to discomfort. And discomfort, while unpleasant, is not the same stimulus as genuine muscular challenge taken to its productive limit. Adding volume to a training approach that is not generating the right stimulus does not fix the problem. It amplifies it. More sets of insufficiently challenging effort produce more fatigue without producing more adaptation, leaving the body tired, recovering from workout stress, but not rebuilding in the direction of the intended result. The fix is not more. It is closer to the limit that actually matters. The progressive overload breakdown. Here is where the problem deepens for people who have been training for more than a few months, because the issue shifts from whether the right stimulus is being generated to whether it is being systematically advanced over time. Progressive overload, the principle that the demand placed on the muscle must increase over time to continue driving adaptation, is the most important concept in resistance training. It is also the concept most consistently applied correctly for the first 3 months of training and then abandoned without the person realizing it. In the beginner phase, progression is automatic. The body is adapting rapidly, strength is increasing session to session, and the weights are going up because the capacity to move heavier loads is developing faster than the programming requires. Progress feels natural because it is happening faster than any deliberate system would need to manage it. Then the beginner phase ends. The rapid neurological adaptations complete. Strength gains slow from session to week to month. And without a deliberate, systematic approach to continuing progression, without tracking what was lifted, what was completed, and what the next specific target is, the training volume stabilizes at whatever weight and representative range became comfortable. Comfortable is the enemy of adaptation. A body that is lifting the same weights for the same reps it lifted 6 months ago is not in a state of progressive overload. It is in a state of maintenance. The training is preventing detraining, keeping the body from losing what it built, while producing no new adaptation because the demand has not increased beyond what the body's current capacity can already manage. Progression does not require dramatic weight jumps. 2.5 pounds added to a compound movement. 1 additional representative completed on a set that previously ended 1 representative earlier. A rest period reduced by 15 seconds, increasing the metabolic demand of the same volume. Each of these is a form of overload. Each of them tells the body that its current capacity is insufficient and that adaptation is required. Without a tracking system that makes progression objective, an actual written or digital record of session performance, most people have no reliable way to know whether they are progressing or maintaining. And without knowing, they are almost certainly maintaining and calling it training. The recovery deficit hiding in plain sight. There is a third variable operating in the background of most unsuccessful training programs, one that is invisible in the gym and only reveals itself in its consequences. Recovery debt. The body adapts to training not during training but in the period of recovery that follows. Sleep is where growth hormone peaks, where muscle protein synthesis operates at its highest sustained rate, and where the neurological consolidation of new movement patterns occurs. Nutrition in the recovery window is where the raw material for tissue repair and growth is either present or absent. The time between sessions is where the adaptation response either completes or gets interrupted by the next training stimulus before it has finished. Most people who are training hard and seeing no results are operating in a chronic state of partial recovery, not overtrained in the clinical sense, but consistently not recovered enough for each session to produce its full adaptive response before the next session begins. This state is invisible because it does not feel like insufficient recovery. It feels like the normal baseline of someone who trains hard. The baseline fatigue, the slightly reduced session quality, the workouts that feel harder than they should for the weight being used. These are accepted as the cost of serious training rather than recognized as symptoms of a recovery deficit that is suppressing the results the training is designed to produce. Cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone, is catabolic to muscle tissue in sustained elevated states. Sleep restriction is one of its most reliable elevators. A person averaging 6 hours of sleep while training 4 to 5 times per week is maintaining a hormonal environment that is actively working against the muscle growth their training is signaling for. The signal says build. The hormonal environment says conserve. The body, caught between conflicting instructions, does neither effectively. Addressing recovery is not a compromise on training intensity. It is the recognition that training intensity without recovery completion is an incomplete process, the equivalent of repeatedly starting a construction project and demolishing it before it finishes, wondering why the building never gets taller. the nutrition miscalculation most people never identify. The final layer of why hard training produces no results is one that people are often most resistant to examining, because nutrition feels like the variable they have already addressed, and reopening it feels like admitting a failure of discipline rather than a gap in information. The issue is rarely total caloric intake or general dietary quality at the surface level. The issue is typically two specific miscalculations that undermine the training's ability to produce its intended outcome regardless of how correctly the rest of the nutritional approach is structured. The first is per meal protein insufficiency. Muscle protein synthesis is activated by amino acid availability, specifically leucine, at the individual meal level. Total daily protein is relevant, but the distribution of that protein across meals determines how frequently the anabolic signal is activated throughout the day. A person consuming adequate total daily protein in 2 large meals and several small ones with minimal protein content is activating muscle protein synthesis less frequently than someone distributing the same total protein across 4 meals each containing a sufficient dose to clear the anabolic threshold. The second miscalculation is caloric context misalignment. Attempting to simultaneously build muscle and lose fat at a rate that the body's biology cannot support without compromising both outcomes. Building tissue requires surplus energy. Losing fat requires deficit energy. The body cannot do both at maximum efficiency simultaneously. It can do both at reduced efficiency under specific conditions, but most people approaching this combination without understanding the trade-offs end up with a caloric environment too restricted to support muscle growth and too ample to produce meaningful fat loss, producing the frustrating outcome of no visible change in either direction. Clarifying the primary goal and structuring nutrition around it, modest surplus for building, modest deficit for leaning, with protein sufficient to protect muscle in both contexts, resolves this miscalculation and allows the training to produce the specific result it was designed for. Conclusion: training hard is real. The effort is real. The commitment is real. But the body is not keeping score on effort. It is responding, or not responding, to a specific set of biological conditions that either drive adaptation or preserve the status quo. If this explains something that months of hard training never made clear, subscribe and share this with someone who deserves to understand why their effort has not been converting into the outcome it should. Every video on this channel is built around one commitment: real explanation, real depth, real value.